even higher. Anyway, whatever. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Nachoranandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoranandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Mr. Bhagavad Paramahamsa, Parivadikacharya Ashtottara Srimad, His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa, Parivadikacharya Ashtottara Srimad, His Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Okay. Oh boy, we have crosstalk. All right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate, you can learn it. Om Namo Bhagavate 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 Vasudevaya Vasudevaya. There you go. All right, let's try it again. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All right, before we begin, I'm going to make an announcement of where we are. And but just in case, because we have several books that have different numbers, because the pagination is different. So if you open the book to any page, and you see, in the middle, and you see at the top there, in what they call the gutters, where the two pages meet, left and right page meet, that's called the gutter. And at the top is a number. And the number is the chapter and the verse. Right? Chapter and the verse. So I'll give you the chapter and the verse, and whatever page number it is, it may be a different page number, but that's what we're talking about. All right, so we're going to be on 9.5. That's the verse we're on today. Okay, but I'll make an announcement, and I'll give the page number. But if the page number is different, you look for the verse number. That's the main thing. Okay. On this 22nd day of November, 2022 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in chapter 9, entitled The Most Confidential Knowledge. And the verse is number 5, so it's 9.5. Everyone got it? Okay. And we'll go word by word. There's sometimes a couple of words when they're real small, but so you can. Nacha. Yeah. I say, then you say. Nacha. Matstani. Bhutani. Pashyame. Yogam. Aishwaram. Bhuta Brin. Nacha. Bhuta Sto. Mamatma Bhuta Bhavanaha Nachamatstani Bhutani Pashyame Yogam aiśvaram Bhuta Brinnacha Bhuta Sto Mamatma Bhuta Bhavanaha Nachamatstani Bhutani Pashyame Yogam aiśvaram Bhuta Brinnacha Bhuta Sto Mamatma Bhuta Bhavanaha Natamatstani Bhutani Pashyame Yogam aiśvaram Bhuta Brinnacha Bhuta Sto Mamatma Bhuta Bhavanaha Nachamatstani Bhutani Pashyame Yogam aiśvaram Bhuta Brinnacha Bhuta Sto Mamatma Bhuta Bhavanaha. Anyone want to try it? It's okay. All right. All right. Just, it's okay. It's okay. So I have a recording of the whole Bhagavad Gita, just the verses and the translations, which I'm absolutely willing to share with anyone. So you just give me your email afterward. I'll send it to you, and you can listen and look, and gradually you can learn how to chant the verses. Okay? Okay. We're on page 383. Which should be text 5 of chapter 9. Okay. I'll read the word by word myself. You can just read along. Na, never. Cha, also. Matstani, situated in me. Bhutani, all creation. Pasya, just see. Me, my. Yogam aiśvaram, inconceivable mystic power. Bhuta Brit, the maintainer of all living entities. Na, never. Cha, also. Bhutastaha, in the cosmic manifestation. Mama, my, Atma, self, Bhuta Bhavanaha, the source of all manifestations. Translation, Krishna says to Arjuna, and yet everything that is created does not rest in me. Behold my mystic opulence. Although I am the maintainer of all living entities, and although I am everywhere, I am not a part of this cosmic manifestation. For myself is the very source of creation. Purport. The Lord says that everything is resting on Him, Matstani Sarvabhutani. This should not be misunderstood. The Lord is not directly concerned with the maintenance and sustenance of this material manifestation. Sometimes we see a picture of Atlas holding the globe on his shoulders. He seems to be very tired holding this great earthly planet. Such an image should not be entertained in connection with Krishna's upholding this created universe. He says that although everything is resting on him, he is aloof. The planetary systems are floating in space, and this space is the energy of the Supreme Lord. But he is different from space. He is differently situated. Therefore, the Lord says, although they are situated on my inconceivable energy, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I am aloof from them. This is the inconceivable opulence of the Lord. In the Nirukti Vedic dictionary, it is said, Yujyate nena durgateshu karyeshu. The Supreme Lord is performing inconceivably wonderful pastimes, displaying his energy. Close quote. His person is full of different potent energies, and his determination is itself actual fact. In this way, the personality of Godhead is to be understood. We may think of doing something, but there are so many impediments, and sometimes it is not possible to do as we like. But when Krishna wants to do something, simply by his willing, everything is performed so perfectly that one cannot imagine how it is being done. The Lord explains this fact. Although he is the maintainer and sustainer of the entire material manifestation, he does not touch this material manifestation. Simply by his supreme will, everything is created, everything is sustained, and everything is maintained, and everything is annihilated. There is no difference between his mind and himself, as there is a difference between ourselves and our present material mind, because he is absolute spirit. Simultaneously, the Lord is present in everything, yet the common man cannot understand how he is also present personally. He is different from this material manifestation, yet everything is resting on him. This is explained here as yogam aiśvaram, the mystic power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Om jnana timirandasya jnanandana shalakaya chakshu unmilitam mena tasmai shri gurave namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and all members of Sri Parampara, the disciplic succession. So, here in this verse, Krishna seems to be contradicting what he just said in the previous verse. He says, by me and my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. And then he says, and yet everything that is created does not rest in me. Behold my mystic opulence. So this is one of the apparent contradictions we find throughout the philosophy. There's a phrase that kind of summarizes Lord Chaitanya's philosophy. We're following in the line of Lord Chaitanya, who's none other than Krishna. There's two main years you need to remember. First, 5,000 years ago, when Krishna walked the earth and he spoke the Bhagavad Gita, and 500 years ago, now it's more like 540 years ago, when Lord Chaitanya, it's Krishna himself, and he preached the same philosophy as Krishna, but gave us a system that is easy for us to follow. Whereas Krishna, he emphasized surrender. He talks about Ashtanga Yoga here. And he demands to surrender. But Lord Chaitanya doesn't demand to surrender. He says, just chant Hare Krishna. Chant Hare Krishna, and everything will be revealed. The most easy system that you can imagine. So here we have, Lord Chaitanya's philosophy, and it's very deep. He spoke it in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is the topmost of the Vaishnava literatures that has been bequeathed to us by the followers of Lord Chaitanya, because it gives the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya and as the teachings as well, very systematically, philosophically. So in that book, we are introduced to this concept of achintya beda beda tattva, which kind of very central to Lord Chaitanya's presentation of the philosophy. Achintya means inconceivable. And as this purport is describing, this verse, Krishna is inconceivable and seeming very puzzling. I'm simultaneously everywhere, but I'm not there. I'm sustaining everything, but I'm not sustaining. How do we reconcile that? Well, we can't reconcile it with our limited material minds. So this phrase, achintya beda beda, tattva. Tattva means a truth. Achintya means inconceivable. Beda means different, and abeda means the same, means identical. So everything in existence, including ourselves, is simultaneously different from and the same as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, so how are we different from? Well, that's the easy part. He's all-powerful, we're very fragile and weak. He's unlimited, we're limited in our powers. His powers are awe-inspiring, everything. But there's a very important way in which we're the same, which we're identical. And that is that we are part and parcel of Krishna's internal energy. Just like in the 7th chapter we studied, if you read the 7th chapter, Krishna very systematically lists the material energies. And we're very familiar with them. We may not know the Sanskrit names, but Bhumar, Apo, Onano, Vayu, Kangmano, Buddha, Evacha, Ahankara. There's 7. So the first thing is solid matter. Who doesn't know about that? That's called earth, Bhumi. Apo, water, or liquids in general. Okay? And then you have fire, which includes electricity and heat and the sun and all of these different things. And then you have earth, water, fire, air, and gases, right? These are the things that all around us. And then ether. Ether is more subtle. They get more and more subtle. The space. Space is a very important element. And then you get the more subtle elements, mind. Everyone in the room here has a mind, but no one can see anyone else's mind. But we all experience it every moment of every day. Then you have the intelligence, the discriminating factor. The mind is a little different. The mind is sankalpa vikalpa. Means that it's scanning the environment through the senses, and it's saying, yeah, this is good. I want this. And then you say, this is bad. I avoid this. And all kinds of judgments like that. And so the intelligence department then figures out, okay, you like this? Well, let's figure out how to do it, how to get it. You know, I have to use the senses this way. I have to earn some money to buy it, whatever. So the intelligence department is there. There's discrimination. Now, in the intelligence, which is highly developed in the human form as opposed to lower forms of life, all of these lower forms are also living entities, spirit souls encased in bodies with a certain brain function, sometimes very rudimentary, whereby which they can exist in their forms. But they don't have the intelligence, the ability to reason and to create a moral aspect to life that human beings can have. There's no should in the animal kingdom. You just do it, whatever, the instinct, you know what I'm saying? Should is and should not are moral judgments. I want to do it, but I should not. That's only in the human form, you see? So that intelligence is the defining factor of the human form, and it gives us the opportunity to actually purify our existence and go back to Godhead. Get out of this round of birth and death, which is the basic problems that we all face. So Krishna is explaining here part of his inconceivable existence. So it rests on me, but how does it not rest on me? So he's giving the distinction between his expansion through his energies. In that way, Krishna is all-pervading. And this is sometimes said to be the first step in God realization. We have to start from where we're at. We can't see Krishna in his original spiritual form because our eyes are not suitable yet. So Krishna, he reaches out through his devotees, and they establish temples with deities. The deity externally is made of marble, but it becomes spiritualized when it's installed by the spiritual master and is worshipped nicely. Then Krishna, we can relate to him through the deity as Krishna himself. That's why we bathe the deity, we dress the deity, we feed the deity, we glorify. And then when you open the curtains and you feel the presence of God, you don't just say, oh, there's a statue. Why are they worshiping the statue? It's not like that, you see. So he's reaching out through that element, most importantly through sound. This Bhagavad Gita is recorded sound of Krishna speaking. And these little Sanskrit that we're struggling through, it's okay that you didn't write chant the verse. It's difficult. But it's been made accessible by Krishna's dear devotee, Srila Prabhupada, in the English language. And then his assistants, like myself, other editors, touch up the English so it's more, comprehensible and like that. And so, and then through that English has been translated in many other languages. So now Krishna's very words are accessible. We shouldn't think, oh, this is just the English. What did Krishna really say? The Sanskrit. If you can't do the Sanskrit, he's coming in your own language. He's giving you. So this is how Krishna reaches out to us, makes himself accessible. And by studying Bhagavad Gita, we learn about earth, water, fire, ether. Okay. And he even gives us examples. I am the light of the sun, which is nothing but fire, right? I am the taste of water. All of these elements, we experience them in this way. And so we can, when we taste water, which we do every day, we can say, oh, this is Krishna. When we see the sun come up, oh, there's Krishna, because it's his energy. So probably would give the example of a mother seeing, imagine it's the child's first day in school, okay? So for the first time, the mother is, giving the child over to, these trustworthy teachers. They'll take care of the. So she's at home cleaning up, and she's at his room, and there's one of the shoes he wore a few years later as a baby shoe. She sees that shoe, but she thinks of her child. She thinks of the child wearing. In other words, a tear may come to the eye. Oh, the child's growing up, but here's the shoe he used to wear. If another person sees the shoe, it's just a little baby shoe. But because she has the knowledge of the relationship of that shoe to the child, she experiences the presence of the child. So if you're Krishna conscious, you're seeing the world through the eyes of Shastras, scripture, especially Bhagavad Gita. Okay, I am the light of the sun. The sun comes up. You don't just see the sun. You say, oh, Krishna says he is the light of the sun. He's created the sun. He's the energy of the sun. My Lord is so powerful, so great. He's so kind to provide us with the sun so that we can grow food, like that. So in this way, you can begin to see the all-pervasiveness of the Lord, which is one of the aspects. So that's what he's explaining here. Now, there's one thing I wanted to point out. So there's one of our acharyas, I think it's Jiva Goswami, who is saying, unless you accept the inconceivable potencies of the Lord, there's no question of understanding God. Is that we have to be very humble and understand that we are because of our entrapment in material energy, we can't perceive so much of what reality is, even on the material level. As everyone knows now, there's hundreds of TV stations beaming through here. They're here in subtle form. The beams are here, but we don't have the TV here, so you can't perceive it. But it's here in a subtle form. Similarly, Krishna is also beamed, if you will. Prabhupada used this example, within each of our hearts. But we can't perceive him because we haven't tuned. We're too much in the modes of nature and impure. And in the previous purport was a very important verse in the text 4. Atakshi Krishna namadi nabave grayam indriyai sevan mukhi hijibado swayameva spuratida. This is from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And what it means is that the holy name, form, qualities, and pastimes of Krishna. This is what namadi means. Nama means name. It's the same word in Sanskrit and English. That one is easy to learn. Nama. And adi means etc. So the holy name, form, and qualities, there's four elements that define a person when you think about it. First is the name. If the police are looking for someone, they want to know his name, and his or her name. And then the description, right? So you get name, form. Then, well, what are they like? What's their different qualities that we can see? So you have qualities of the person and their activities. Name, form, qualities, and activities. Nama, Rupa, Guna, Lila. These are, four things. So here, that's the etc. The holy name, form, and qualities and pastimes of Krishna, nabave grayam indriyai. With our present covered senses, our material senses, we cannot grasp them. This word grayam is like the English word grasp, means to understand. Please, could you repeat that? I couldn't grasp exactly what you're saying. So that grayam is the same word. We can't understand with our covered senses the details of Krishna's name, form, qualities, and pastimes. But seva unmukhe, by beginning service, beginning with the tongue, chanting and tasting prasadam, and of course hearing. Eventually, we purify our senses, so swayameva spuratyada, the Lord reveals Himself proportionally to our purification. So that's what we're trying to do here. By hearing Krishna's words, thinking about them, hearing the wonderful explanations of His pure devotee, our consciousness becomes purified, and eventually we can perceive Krishna more and more and understand with our intelligence. And when that intelligence is purified, it becomes stronger so that we can direct our mind and senses in such a way that we can perceive Krishna more and more and execute devotional service. Okay, any questions on this verse or purport? No? Okay. Okay, just by His supreme will, everything is created, sustained, and ultimately destroyed. This fact about when we want to do something, it doesn't automatically happen, right? We have to work hard, keep striving, But His will immediately is carried out. It's called Satya Sankalpa. It means His will is truth. And because He is controlling all these multitudinous energies. The material energies, then there's the spiritual energies, which are beyond the realm of this matter. And all of them are under His complete control. And so whatever He wills to happen will happen. And the wonderful thing is He's not just a powerful force, powerful person, but He has feelings just like we do. And He very much wants us to come back home, back to Godhead. We're His wayward children. He says in the 15th chapter, how's it go? Sarva yoni shukontaya motiyak sambhavanti ya tasam brahma mahad yoni aham bija pradakpada. This phrase, aham bija pradakpada, I am the seed-giving father for every creature here. We're all Krishna's children. So we've wandered away due to our obstinacy. We've left the spiritual world. We didn't want to serve Krishna. We wanted to be little Krishnas. And now, after all of these births, we finally, by the grace of His devotees and our good fortune, we've come, we're beginning to take baby steps back to Krishna. So He's encouraging us. He wants us to do that. So as Prabhupada said, you take one step toward Krishna, He takes 10 steps toward you. You see? So, yeah. So this is Lord Chaitanya's, he comes as Lord Chaitanya, as I explained, to give us a process we can follow. Because here at the end of the Gita, Krishna says, okay, you surrender to me, and then I'll deliver you. But we're not ready to surrender, we're rascals. So okay, don't worry about surrendering. You just chant and dance and take this prasadam, this nice food. And well, who won't take the nice food? I don't know about the chanting and dancing, but if you take the nice food, then you come back again and you hear the lecture and you say, well, this chant looks like fun, And before you know it, you're practicing the process and you're feeling the benefit. So so Krishna devised this system because He wants to give us a chance. But it's also very important to strengthen our intelligence, so we know the philosophy behind it, because we're so conditioned that our will is not very strong. Vyavasayatmaka buddhiya, this determination has to be there, because we're habituated to not serving Krishna. So there's so many things, the allurements of Maya, or the weakness of heart. I can do A, B, C, but I can't do D, You know what I'm saying? Not yet, anyway. So how to get that determination? That's Krishna is helping us with this philosophy. All right, let's go on. Text 5. Text 6. Yatakashastito nityam vayu sarvatra go mahan tatat sarvani bhutani matstani chupadharya. Understand that as the mighty wind blowing everywhere rests always in the sky, all created beings rest in me. Purport. For the ordinary person, it is almost inconceivable how the huge material creation is resting in him. But the Lord is giving an example which may help us to understand. The sky may be the biggest manifestation we can conceive. And in that sky, the wind or air is the biggest manifestation in the cosmic world. The movement of the air influences the movements of everything. But although the wind is great, it is still situated within the sky. The wind is not beyond the sky. Similarly, all the wonderful cosmic manifestations are existing by the supreme will of God, and all of them are subordinate to that supreme will. As we generally say, not a blade of grass moves without the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, everything is moving under His will. By His will, everything is being created, everything is being maintained, and everything is being annihilated. Still, He is aloof from everything, as the sky is always aloof from the activities of the wind. In the Upanishads, it is stated, Yad Bisha Vataha Pavate. It is out of the fear of the Supreme Lord that the wind is blowing. Taittiriya Upanishad 281. In the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad 389, it is stated, Etasya va aksharasya prashasane gargi surya chandramaso vidvatao tishtata etasya va aksharasya prashasane gargi dhyav apativyao vidvatao tishtataha. By the supreme order, under the superintendence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the moon, the sun, and the other great planets are moving. In the Brahma Samhita 552, also it is stated, Yat chakshur esa savita sakalagrahanam raja samasta sudamurti rasheshate jaha yasyagya brahmati sambrita kala chakro govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. This is a description of the movement of the sun. It is said that the sun is considered to be one of the eyes of the Supreme Lord, and that it has immense potency to diffuse heat and light. Still, it is moving in its prescribed orbit by the order and the supreme will of Govinda. So, from the Vedic literature, we can find evidence that this material manifestation, which appears to us to be very wonderful and great, is under the complete control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This will be further explained in the later verses of this chapter. So, there are various aspects of the Lord that inspire us to revere Him and serve and surrender. And he's describing some of these breathtaking powers. Everything is under my control. He's pervading every atom. Control. He's within every heart. This omnipotence, omniscience, and omnipresence, which are Western conceptions of God, which are very accurate, and they're realized in Krishna. And all of these should induce us to be awestruck and to want to serve, because that's our natural tendency. That's our natural mode as spirit souls, part and parcel of Krishna. Prabhupada gives the example, I think it was mentioned here, just like you have the body and you have the limbs of the body. The function of this hand is to serve my will. If it doesn't do what I want, then it's a faulty hand. You know, it's a source of pain. But if I just, I don't think twice, I just pick up the water, So similarly, we're part and parcel of Krishna. And our happy, normal function is to serve the will of the Lord. And we become satisfied in that way. There's a very important concept in the Vedanta Sutra. You've heard of Vedanta Sutra? Not really. Okay, well, let's analyze the word. Veda means knowledge. The Veda is very famous. The basic meaning is knowledge. It's in Prabhupada's words, Prabhupada's name, Bhakti Vedanta. You see? Anta means end. So in the Vedanta Sutra are aphorisms that comprise the essence of Vedic knowledge, the wisdom. The Veda Anta means this is the summary, this is the final compendium of the essential knowledge. But they're very hard. They're hard to comprehend. They need explanation, and so we need a commentary. And you know what the commentary of the Vedanta Sutra is? The Srimad Bhagavatam, which you may have heard of. It's much longer. Vedanta Sutra is quite short and terse. But in that Vedanta Sutra, there's this one aphorism says Anandamayo Bhyasat. Now Ananda, I'm sure it's an English word by now. What do you think, Dimitri? I think it's in the dictionary. In fact, we don't eat chocolate, I don't know if you know that. But why? Because there's a little drug in there. It's called anandamide. Yes, they call it anandamide. Named after Ananda. Because it makes you feel very nice, Anyway, so Anandamaya Abhyasat, what does that mean? It's describing the Supreme Absolute Truth. It means that Anandamaya, Maya means filled, just like you have, often a common name in India would be something like Karunamayi, means like someone who's full of compassion. You see, Radharani is Karunamayi. And Krishna is also Karunamayi. But that's a feminine form, I think Karunamaya, So Anandamaya means naturally filled with bliss. Why not? If you're God and you're, supremely powerful, you'll naturally always be filled with bliss. But what is that bliss? That happiness, that bliss comes from relation, from rasa. You've heard the term rasa? Maybe not. Okay, rasa is, we have a reflection of the material rasas, a mother's love for the child, what she feels when she takes care of the child, and the child smiles back with that toothless smile, I mean, that's got to be the happiest time of the day for the mother, So there's a strong relation there. So that's a reflection of the rasas that Krishna enjoys. Just we had Damodar month, with the binding, we finished that, don't you? And it's a celebration of this called Vatsalya Ras, or maternal relationship of Mother Yashoda with Krishna. Now, by Krishna's yoga maya, he makes her forget that he's God. She doesn't think, oh, this is the all-powerful Lord, all-pervading. She's not thinking Bhagavad Gita, She thinks, oh, this is my wonderful, loving child. Let me take care of him. Let me feed him, And so that way he covers his glory to evoke her love, because that's what he really wants. He wants that loving exchange between him and his mother, him and his friends, him and his lovers, and his even his servants. So Krishna is always full of bliss, Anandamaya Bhyasat. And Bhyasat means by his activities we can tell he's always full of bliss. Even when he's killing the demons, that's also a blissful activity. And he's helping them. They're liberated from their demonic body. They go at least get liberation in the Brahman. So now here's the punchline, if you will. We are, as Krishna claims in the 15th chapter, Mamai Vangsha. We are his Angsha. What is an Angsha? An Angsha is, we have two great examples at hand. One is the sun and the sunshine. Those rays of sun are like the Angsha of the sun. They have a little bit of heat and a little bit of light. And you put millions of them together, there's a lot of heat and light, right? But each of them is individual. A drop of water of the ocean. You go down to the beach here, you take a little cup of water. It has the same chemical composition as the practically infinite water in the Pacific Ocean. So we are also Anandamaya Bhyasat. We are also, in our natural state, always filled with ananda, spiritual bliss. No anxiety, no terror, no pain, all of that is artificial. We only have that because we've alienated ourselves from Krishna. We've left Krishna Loka, and now we've got these material body, material mind, and that is what's causing all the suffering. If we were in our original spiritual body, we would be in the spiritual world, which is Vaikuntha. No anxiety, no pain, no old age, and no bad smells. You ever think of it that way? No bad smells. There's so many stinky smells in this material, isn't it? Just try to avoid that. So, I just thought of that. I thought of that sometime ago. So anyway, so what's interesting is if we regain our original state, become purified and return to the spiritual world, we will also be in Anandamaya Bhyasat. Varieties of bliss. It's not that we just exist in bliss, but activities, through the activities of serving Krishna, which are ever fresh, cavorting with him in the groves of Vrindavan, as a friend or one of his lovers or his parents or whatever. But that's the original state that we're aiming to get. So now back to our verse. We are now learning some of Krishna's greatness, because this is always the first step. Our disease is the false ego, is that built around his body, this identity. We have our own little powers, and we forget all about our actual nature as spiritual beings, part and parcel of God. We forget God. That's what it means to be in Maya. We forget God and our relationship with God. So we have to learn again how to be servants of God. Because one thing to remember is that all of his friends and the parents and everything, they're the greatest servants, meaning that they are responding completely to what Krishna wants, which was this loving relationship. He wants his mother to forget that he's God and simply relate to him as a little baby, And so she's eligible to do that, because she's an internal energy. That's her eternal swarup, meaning her eternal nature. But she's an ideal for all the devotees who want to be in that relationship. They follow in her footsteps and like that. So the point is that in our present state, our consciousness is constantly fluid and changing according to each day's and each moment's input and output and so many different things. But this is because we haven't realized our original swarup, our original relationship with Krishna. And that's what learning the Bhagavad Gita and engaging in devotional service does. It re-invokes or awakens our original nature. It's called the Swarup Siddhi, the perfection of understanding who we really are as spiritual beings in relation to God. Perfectly suited to our eternal nature, and we have services to perform. And it all begins with hearing and chanting. That's it all starts to reform. So, okay, we have time for one more. Text 7. Sarva bhutani kaunteya prakatim yanti mamikam kalpakshihi punasthani kalpado visrajamyaham. O son of Kunti, at the end of the millennium, all material manifestations enter into my nature. And at the beginning of another millennium, by my potency, I create them again. Purport. The creation, maintenance, and annihilation of the material cosmic manifestation are completely dependent on the supreme will of the personality of Godhead. At the end of the millennium means that the death of Brahma lives for 100 years of his years, and his one day is calculated at 4,300,000,000 of our earthly years. It's actually 320 million, it's kind of rounded off. His night is of the same duration. His month consists of 30 such days and nights, and his year of 12 months. After 100 such years, when Brahma dies, the devastation or annihilation takes place. This means that the energy manifested by the Supreme Lord is again wound up in himself. Then again, when there is a need to manifest the cosmic world, it is done by his will. Bahusyam. Let there be many. Although I am one, I shall become many. This is the Vedic aphorism, Chandogya Upanishad 623. He expands himself in this material energy, and the whole cosmic manifestation again takes place. So this is some of the mind-boggling dimensions of space and time that we deal with here. He didn't mention the whole lifetime of Brahma, 100 years. But Saul, you should know this number by now. No? What's Brahma's length of life? 100 years of his years, which is how many of our years? Dimitri, can you help us? He just takes it up to a day, half a day. Well, yeah. In other words, you have to multiply it out, which we've done before. I'll tell you one more time. Try to remember. 311 trillion, 40 billion of our years is the lifetime of Brahma. You knew that, right? All right. That's just one lifetime of Brahma. Meanwhile, all the living entities are dying, taking birth, dying, and eventually, when Brahma's life is over, then Mahavishnu, who is an expansion of Krishna, he breathes in. The lifetime of Brahma is one breath of Mahavishnu. Mahavishnu means big Vishnu. And then all the living entities, everything comes within the body in the subtle form, within the body of Mahavishnu. And then after a long time, he breathes out and it gets created again. And meanwhile, what happens to us? We don't die. Nobody dies. I have this little aphorism you can remember. Every single body dies. Nobody dies. Wake up, and open your eyes. You're not that body, you're a pure spirit soul. Chant the holy name and attain life's goal. It's all there. So we don't die. What happens to us? We enter like a state of suspended animation. We're not even dreaming, we're not thinking anything, but we're not dead. And when finally he breathes out, after another 311 trillion, 40 billion years, things start to manifest, which is a long explanation I don't have time to get into now. But eventually, we take up where we left off, and all our karma is recorded, and we start again. So we want to try to end that process, the little process of our own little universe dying, and then having taken birth again, and then sometimes lower births, sometimes a tree, a plant, demigod, higher births too, but always impermanent. We want to come to our permanent state. No more of this 311 trillion, 40 billion years in the body of Mahavishnu. We want to spend every moment in the spiritual world with Krishna, and that's back home, back to Godhead. So understanding these things in our present state it's important, because it gives us an overall perspective of where we're at, where we came from, and where we can go to if we do the right thing. All right, any other questions or comments? All right, let's read one more and then I'll give you a poem. Prakatim svama vashtabhya visvrajami punak punak Bhuta gramam imam kritsnam avisham prakate vishat. The whole cosmic order is under me. Under my will it is automatically manifested again and again, and under my will it is annihilated at the end. Purport. The material world is the manifestation of the inferior energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This has already been explained several times. At the creation, the material energy is let loose as the Mahatattva, into which the Lord, as his first Purusha incarnation, Mahavishnu, enters. He lies within the causal ocean and breathes out innumerable universes, and into each universe the Lord again enters as Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. Each universe is in that way created. He still further manifests himself as Chirodakashayi Vishnu, and that Vishnu enters into everything, even into the atom, minute atom. This fact is explained here. He enters into everything. Now, as far as the living entities are concerned, they are impregnated into the material nature, and as a result of their past deeds, they take different positions. Thus, the activities of this material world begin. The activities of the different species of living beings are begun from the very moment of the creation. It is not that all is evolved. The different species of life are created immediately along with the universe. Men, animals, beasts, birds, everything is simultaneously created, because whatever desires the living entities had at the last annihilation are again manifested. It is clearly indicated here by the word avisham that the living entities have nothing to do with this process. The state of being in their past life, in the past creation, is simply manifested again, and all this is done simply by his will. This is the inconceivable potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And after creating different species of life, he has no connection with them. The creation takes place to accommodate the inclinations of the various living entities, and so the Lord does not become involved with it. So he's involved, but as aloof, as the super soul, until and unless, by the efforts of his devotees, some or many of them turn their face toward him and begin the process of bhakti yoga. Then he becomes very much involved. Okay, so I'm going to give you a translation of one of the most important verses we have. It's not in the Bhagavad Gita. It's the first verse of the Shikshastika. Have you heard of it? Shikshastika means 8 verses of instruction by Lord Chaitanya himself. So the first one is all about the glories of the holy name. All glories to the chanting of Shri Krishna's holy names, which easily extinguishes samsara's blazing flames by polishing the lust-encrusted mirror of the heart. That chanting is the waxing moon that knows the secret art of causing the white lotus of good fortune to unfurl its petals far and wide throughout this bleak and blighted world. Of transcendental knowledge which will take us to life's goal, the chanting of the name of Krishna is the life and soul. The ocean of ecstatic bliss floods far beyond its bounds, wherever Krishna's merciful and mystic name resounds. Indeed, whenever Krishna's names are sung in congregation, at every step one tastes a joy that knows no limitation. So here, with great attention, as I earnestly request, please chant Shri Krishna's holy name and be supremely blessed. The soothing nectar of the name will bathe your consciousness, bestow pure love for Krishna, and eradicate distress. So there you have it. Shikshastika 1. Okay, it's time to adjourn for becoming RT, which I hope you can stay for. Okay. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari Bol. And we will resume tomorrow with text number 9. Yes, text number 9.